Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here, and we've got a pretty large Epstein update for you. Now, a lot of people were hitting me up with this story about hacked videos on a digital server, and during a walk-in talk earlier in the week, I discussed how I was extremely skeptical of the story out of the gates before even reading it. Why? I'm not so sure that Epstein digitized his files and would allow anybody access to them, because once something goes digital, it doesn't matter how much you encrypt it, how much you hide it. There is a huge security risk in that. And if any of the stories out there that link him to intelligence, which, clearly there seems to be links there, right, are true, then he would know this. So we're going to get into everything. We're going to talk about some of these secret communications with Dershowitz. But I wanted to read the entire New York Times article before really weighing in on it and kind of giving people a synopsis. Because, people read headlines and then they kind of distort what's going on. And that's not what I'm trying to do here. So what is this story? Who is this gentleman behind us? I'm not even sure that this is the actual gentleman. Perhaps it is. And when I say gentleman, we have to understand this guy's identity has never been confirmed one way or the other. Right out of the gates, extremely suspicious. Now, I get it. If he is what he says he is, he's going to need to use an alias. Well, when you go to two of the most powerful lawyers in the world with information that you say, and this is after the death of Epstein, okay, and you say that you set up his servers back in 2012 and have thousands of hours of video, including compromising video of people, the R word. We're going to use the R word here. It doesn't matter. This video is going to be demonetized just because it's about Epstein. Can't talk about him on YouTube. So thousands of hours. Ehud, Barak, Dershowitz are not only two of the people named, but in this article, it's claimed that not only does he show blurry pictures on his phone to David Boies and Pottinger, who's the other lawyer that basically Bradley Edwards, who you may be familiar with if you follow this story, refers them to. And David Boies has a checkered past, man. He was Harvey Weinstein's lawyer for a very, very long time. And in this, the New York Times is pretty desperate to spin it that both of these guys were in it for the money, sort of. And they say kind of Boies was in it for retribution. And the other thing is, up until November 7th on an email, David Boies is still saying that this person was what he said he was and was genuine and they hadn't been duped. But then in late November, right before they published this, he says he was probably a huckster, a fraud, and possibly an intelligence asset. And I got to tell you, the story leads me to believe he was there to muddy the waters and possibly be a mole and an intelligence asset. But again, you're going to have to read this for yourself. It'll probably take you a good 25 to 45 minutes to grasp everything. But what happens? This guy, Patrick Kessler, is not Patrick Kessler. He's a 6-foot-plus dude, 300-plus pounds. He says that he was abused when he was a child, and that's how he decided to get involved in this and wanted to help everybody out. Now, he'd already gone to the lawyers, but he sets up a meeting with the New York Times as well. Now, they say these blurry photographs, and one is purported to be Dershowitz having sex, right? But he's got his glasses on. It's pretty interesting. Now, in this article, Kessler provided them with text messages between him and Boies and Pottinger's, right? And they talk about buyers, possibly, for this. And that's what they really focus on this. But the thing is, when they talk about buyers, they never say buyers to keep the information quiet, although that's what the New York Times kind of spins it as, right? Instead, they talk about Sheldon Adelson, who is a huge, huge supporter of not only Donald Trump, but Benjamin Netanyahu. Okay, and why is that significant? Well, Ehud Barak is one of the other people that this guy claims he has on video. And that things have been organized, and he's got emails, and he's got financial records, all these things. But again, I have to ask you, if this stuff was going on in the 90s, and they briefly mention Maria Farmer in here, right? Not as far back as 95 is what she can confirm. Remember, even then, you didn't even have HDV tapes. You know, these little tapes right here, they were still DV tapes, just mini DV. They're this big. And I would imagine digitizing those would be an inherent risk altogether, especially putting them on a server, which is where Kessler comes in. He supposedly comes in 2012 to set up an international server for all of this material. And that's how he has access to it, and it's encrypted, right? And I mean, he drags these people along to the point where he says he's doubled this over. He has the media set up by the lawyers waiting in like a padlocked room that's windowless, that has no access to the internet or Wi-Fi, obviously no cell phones, where he's supposed to deliver all the material. And they're going to go through thousands of hours of this footage that he's promised them. And then at the last minute, he says, you know, he's got to go to Kiev. He doesn't produce anything. All of it is extremely suspicious. And the fact that nobody's able to actually identify who he is in this day and age is extremely worrisome to me. It screams of a disinformation intelligence op. They even, what really screams it is, he tells him he has all this information on Dershowitz, right? And if you read the article, he later contacts Dershowitz, talks to him. Dershowitz says only once. I would assume Dershowitz records the phone call where Kessler says he doesn't have anything on him. And when the New York Times, I guess, shows, or I believe it's the New York Times, shows Dershowitz and his wife the photo of him supposedly having sex with this woman, Dershowitz has his glasses on. And she's like, well, he doesn't do that with his, I don't do that with my glasses on. That to me is nothing. You know, that's more like Prince Andrew doesn't sweat, right? So, guys, an extremely interesting read, but I think there's a mass smear going on here. And there's Pottinger Younger. Like this is a big time lawyer. But there are some pretty good nuggets in here. You know, there's Boys right there next to Roberts. So there's some pretty good nuggets in here. It's definitely worth taking a look. Now, with that being said, you know, the Jeffrey Epstein scandal nearly affected the latest Israeli election. For those that don't know, and really, by anybody's standards, still a draw. There's really not any conclusive proof that Netanyahu's winning these things. But their politics is convoluted and corrupt as our politics. And actually, Ehud Barak, a little bit less of a warmonger than Netanyahu. Sheldon Adelson, who also contributes to the Trump campaign very heavily, is a Netanyahu guy, and that's why he gets mentioned. So they start talking about Kessler's possible videos and how they were talking about trying to release this during the election cycle. You know, something we gotta focus on a little bit. And now, I believe it gets ruled out in 3 days. The 10,000 pages. Remember, we got 2,000. We may get another 10,000. And there are new suits being filed with the Child Victims Crimes Act against Dershowitz by Virginia Giuffre Roberts. But now we have these motions that are possibly going to get the secret communications between Jeffrey Epstein and Dershowitz to be used in discovery via these lawsuits, which would be huge. It would be absolutely huge to get those documentations. I mean, I can't even tell you how exciting it would be to try to put that information out there, because the public still in large part hasn't heard the Bill Richardson information, hasn't made the links to Zorro Ranch, don't understand that the deal he was cut the first time was for a 16-year-old girl, and this guy didn't have to register in 30-plus states as a sex offender. Everything was a sweetheart deal to him. All right? And like I said, those new charges are via the Child Victims Act. And, you know, let's see where it goes. I don't trust Dershowitz. I don't think you should either. And I read this article here, Epstein's Razor, the emerging truth about the sex predator's death. All spin, gives a little bit delusion to the fact that, well, this isn't an InfoWars delusion. Given the timing of Epstein's death, given the apparent knowledge of compromising information on some of the richest and most powerful people out on the planet, the death smells rotten. But then he's like, but Bill Barr told us it wasn't. And, they keep talking about that first suicide attempt. I'm going to say it again. As far as we know right now, there was no first suicide attempt. We now have Baden and Mark Epstein, his brother, saying that he was attacked by his cellmate. Yet they still put him on suicide watch. Think how corrupt that is. Think about the problems that span with that storyline. If he never tried to commit suicide the first time, they're burying that because it's especially important. So guys, if you like this video, now's the time to thumbs it up, share it with others. If you're new to this channel, we are at the forefront of covering the Epstein case. So make sure to like, sub, and become a member of the Burmis Brigade. We're doing it 3 to 7 times a day over here on various subjects. We're going to have Mixed Martial Mindset at 6 p.m. with John Fitch, but I'm trying to kick out a couple other videos before them. We're talking transhumanism. We talk Bilderberg. We talk Assange. We talk freedom of speech. We talk about the police state, the surveillance state, and so much more. And I'm a documentary filmmaker, guys. You can see Loose Change Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, A New World Order Defined, and Shade the Motion Picture right here, right now, for free in the playlist section under documentaries. Full-length documentaries, all free, all my work free. No Patreon, no Subscribe Star, no bonus content, all right? Here's the deal. If you like what I do, this is how I'm doing it. A monthly GoFundMe. We've yet to have a donation this month. It is Christmas time, guys, so let's try to get to that $5,000 mark. Let's see if we can get a little more gear and possibly scope out a studio and really bring the Burmis Brigade to the next level within the next 6 months. I want to thank everybody who has supported me in the first 5 months of this operation. We're going to continue to do it live. I absolutely love you guys, and I will see you all on the flip side.